Hello and welcome back to Coffee with a Kick. I'm Kegan York, and today my co-host Zander Fadley, he is currently out for the week at a church camp, but there's still soccer to cover. There's things to recap, things to predict. So I'm going to go solo this episode. I hope you guys enjoy it somewhat. There's going to be less graphics and more just raw talking and content. But let's just jump right in. The first thing that we are going to be talking about is a recap of everything that happened in the group stages of the final Copa America matches and the round of 16 when it comes to the Euro 2024. And we'll start with the Copa America. And I want to begin with just a moment of silence for our not-so-American heroes of the U.S. men's national team. They tried so hard, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't get over the hump of Uruguay. And while the officiating was definitely subpar, to say the least, that's been a theme around the entire Copa tournament. So U.S. men's, there's not really a big excuse. Losing to Panama, going down to 10 men, that was really the decider of this group. So losing to Uruguay 1-0 is a real stinger for us. And it's going to be interesting to see where U.S. men's go from here, because I don't think we're as good as we might think. We have a lot of talent. We have probably the biggest soccer pool that we've ever had, the most attention on soccer that we've ever had. However, I don't think our coaching staff is the right coaching staff to develop that talent. I also don't think that our players, while they say they're behind Greg Berhalter, I don't think they have the mentality that a soccer team needs, especially a national team, to get to that next level. We seem to have that. We're still scrappy. We're still the team that no one believes in. And I don't think our talent reflects that. I think our talent is actually above that scrappiness, unbelief. But I think that we need a manager to come in and actually fix that. So there's been rumors around Jurgen Klopp. That's kind of exciting. I'm not a Liverpool fan. Zander even wanted Klopp to leave Liverpool in the previous podcast. But we'll see. We'll see. But starting at the top, we'll go Saturday, June 29th. We saw Argentina defeat Peru 2-0 without Messi. Peru, they just lacked that little bit of quality in the match, ultimately losing. And Canada and Chile ended up drawing despite Chile getting a red card there early on in the 27th minute. I think that really was the decider. And ultimately, Canada moves on when in reality, I think Canada was the worst ranked team in this group. So good on them for doing that. But like we kind of talked about in our previous episode, it's really by default. It's not that Canada was the best team or second best team in this group, but it was really by default that they move on. The other group, we have Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela v. Jamaica. Venezuela takes care of business against Jamaica. Jamaica played really well in the first half, but the second half, it seemed like the heat was getting to them and they really lacked that quality they actually needed. Only one shot on target is not going to win you a match. Venezuela scoring all three of their shots on target. And Mexico crashes out of the Euros. Venezuela takes the group with 9 points, the very first time in Venezuelan history that they've moved on in a Copa perfectly. And Ecuador, on goal difference, takes the second spot. And I don't know if this is actually a stat that was true or if I just saw it somewhere and someone was just saying it to say it. But not having USA and Mexico go through in the next round of Copa is a big blow to CONCACAF. Canada moving forward is good, but Canada really is the fourth, maybe fifth best team in CONCACAF. So having our two best teams bow out in unconvincing fashion is really concerning moving into the World Cup in 2 years. Because again, Mexico is hosting, Canada is hosting, and USA is hosting a majority of the matches. And so it's really concerning when two of the three host nations look abysmal. They don't look good. They look disjointed. They look like the team, again, the scrappy teams that feel like they are always coming from behind, even when they have the talent to actually be winning the match. So Mexico doesn't move on. Obviously, in the USA group, Panama took care of business against Bolivia. For a while there, Bolivia had tied it for about 10 minutes in the second half. A 69th minute goal from Bolivia made things interesting. But the issue was the Uruguay goal came just before that. And it was really tough because we knew that if we got a draw and Bolivia would have held on and drawn, we would have moved on. But giving up the Uruguay goal and then seeing how things played out after that, I didn't feel very good about the match. So Uruguay moving on, Panama moving on. Again, really tough to see the 4th and 5th best team in CONCACAF move on and not the 2 best teams. I don't think that's a good look. It's not a good look for the World Cup coming up. But again, the U.S. needs to regroup. But good on Uruguay. Uruguay underneath Marcelo Bielsa, they look really good. They look like a team that knows that they only have a population of 3 million people, but they bleed soccer. At no point did I feel like Uruguay was not going to give it their all in any of these 3 matches. I think Uruguay moving into the quarterfinals is a dark horse. I think they have the chance to upset a few teams, maybe even win the entire tournament. And in the last group, Colombia and Brazil, 2 teams that we knew were going to come out of this group. Costa Rica put up actually a very good fight, but we knew that Colombia and Brazil were probably going to come out of this group, and Colombia will be hard-pressed to not actually have won this match. They were the better side for a majority of this match. And so to not win it with all their opportunities, they had several really quality shots on target. Brazil had a couple, but really their goal was the only good shot on target. Amazing free kick from Rafinha. If you haven't seen it, you got to look up the highlights. It was amazing. But Colombia equalizing just before the half set the tone for the second half, where both teams, for a good majority of the half, were kind of playing for the draw, understanding that both teams were going to go through. And Colombia knew they had the advantage of being the first seed in the group. So the draw kind of played out like we thought it would. And we also had Costa Rica go up extremely early against Paraguay. A 3rd-minute goal and a 7th-minute goal. And really, it was just hanging on. And those were the only 2 shots. 2 shots total. Both on goal. Both for Costa Rica. And Costa Rica was a shock team in this one. I truly believe that Costa Rica didn't have any business getting 3rd in this group. Didn't have any business getting 4 points in this group. But they did. They showed resilience. They showed tenacity. They did what they needed to do. Get ahead early and then just kind of park the bus and make Paraguay beat you with quality, which we know a team like Paraguay does not have. A recap from our predictions from the previous episode for the Copa match week 3 goes as follows. Zander gets a perfect pick for Argentina beating Peru 2-0. I thought Peru was going to win. They looked good in the first half, couldn't sustain it. We both predicted a 1-1 draw for Canada and Chile, 0-0 draw. Mexico, Ecuador, I predicted a 1-1 draw. Zander thought Ecuador would win 2-1. Venezuela and Jamaica, I thought it would be 5-2. Zander thought it would be a draw. Obviously, it was 3-0, so mine was a little closer, but Jamaica not showing that quality of offense that we thought they would. USA, Uruguay, I thought it would be 2-1 USA. Zander thought it would be 2-2. And then Bolivia versus Panama, I had a perfect pick here, 3-1. Zander thought it would be 1-1. We then had Brazil, Colombia. I got another perfect pick of Colombia, Brazil 1-1. And then also Brazil, Colombia, Zander thought it would be 2-1. And then Paraguay, Costa Rica, I had another perfect pick, 2-1. And Zander thought it would be 3-0. So looking at this list, I had 4 perfect picks out of 8 picks. So had this been a week where you thought, man, I should go with Kegan's picks, you would have been perfect 4 out of 8 times. I don't know what the metrics are on amount of money won had you bet on those, but I'm sure Zander will calibrate that in the next episode, and we'll get to see what that looks like. But overall, a solid showing for both of us. I think, let's see. I think I ended up going 6-2 or 5-3. Zander ended up going even or 3-5. We'll do a whole recap of the group stage as far as wins and losses, how well we did versus the spread, and all of that stuff. But moving forward in the quarterfinal, I'm just going to go ahead and predict them. I'm going to move through the Copa, and then we'll get to the Euros. So Argentina and Ecuador kicking off tonight, on July 4th, Independence Day. And Argentina, they look really good. Ecuador, I think, has the team play to be able to disrupt Argentina, but I don't think that they have that quality of finishing that they need. In their previous match, they ought to have scored 4 goals, 5 goals, but Inter Valencia missed a couple of easy chances. Another winger missed a wide open shot, essentially. So I think Argentina, with Messi back in the fold, a couple other players who they rested in the final group stage match, will be back as well. I think I'm going to predict a 3-1 Argentina win. It's going to be tough to see Ecuador move on. And Zander has picked Argentina to also win 3-1. So we'll see how that goes. But Argentina, we both think will go through to the semifinals. And kicking off tomorrow, July 5th at 8 p.m. Central Time, we have Venezuela versus Canada. To me, Venezuela looks like the better team. Again, Canada, I feel like, is here by default, not by actually being a good team. So Venezuela, I believe, will take this one, I think, 2-0. Zander believes it will be 1-1, with Venezuela winning 4-2 in PKs. Moving to Saturday, July 6th at 5 p.m. Central Time, we have Colombia versus Panama. Colombia is playing amazing. Panama has been serviceable, but they haven't seen a team like Colombia yet. I think Colombia takes it 4-0. Zander believes 3-0. I think Colombia will run this game pretty easily. And then we have Uruguay versus Brazil, which I think will be the quarterfinal matchup of the Copa Americas. I think Uruguay will take this one 3-1. Again, I think they're the dark horse. They are a smaller team. They've won it before in their history. Marcelo Bielsa has them really purring on offense and attacking the ball on defense, swarming the ball, similarly to how he had at Leeds United. When Leeds, it felt like they were always near the top half of the table because they just outworked everybody. So I think Uruguay is going to outwork a lazy and lackadaisical Brazil team 3-1. Zander believes Brazil will win 2-1. So let us know what you think in the comments, who you believe will be moving forward to the semifinals of the Copa America. And let us know what your favorite moment was from the group stages. My favorite moment was definitely Christian Pulisic after the Uruguay game instructing the match official to go over and celebrate with the Uruguayan team. I thought that was hilarious. It probably wasn't appropriate for the occasion, but it did seem, I'm not going to rant here, but Uruguay's goal, he was offside. He was. The angle straight down, you have a camera angle going straight down the line. He's offside, but nonetheless, I thought that was my favorite moment. But we will now move on to the Euro 2024 and recap the round of 16. All right, we are going to start with the Saturday, June 29th action. The first match being Switzerland and Italy. To go back to our predictions, Zander predicted a penalty win for Italy, 4-3. I predicted a Switzerland win, 2-1. Switzerland took the match 2-0, and I don't think it was close. As I mentioned in the previous episode, I did not trust Italy's offense, and I felt like Switzerland was playing well enough on their own offensive half that they could put a few goals in early and be able to sustain the lead. And sure enough, they did that 37th minute and 46th minute, and then they held on at the end. Italy only mustering up one shot on target. And for a team that wants to impose defense and possession was pretty even. So I don't know what it looks like for Italy. Supposedly, they're already saying that they're going to keep their manager, but seeing this Italian side in this Euros and then rewatching the Euro 2021 underneath Roberto Mancini, it's clear that Italy has kept their defensive identity, but completely lost their ability to play in the final third. So we'll see what they do, but they bow out early. The next match that day was Germany via Denmark. Zander predicted a 2-1 win for Germany. I predicted a 3-1 Germany win. Germany, I think, handily won it 2-0 in the second half. First half, Denmark held on for the first 15-minute barrage from Germany, and then the rest of the 30 minutes of the first half was pretty even. Felt like Denmark played well. They had made a couple of runs in to score. But second half, Germany looked, their quality was just better. Kai Havertz converting the penalty was a big blow to Denmark, and then Musiala's goal was wonderful. and really was the nail in the coffin. After that, you could feel Denmark kind of accepting their fate. But that was the Saturday action. Sunday action, I had two matches almost go my way. Zander and I both thought England would lose, which Zander predicted a 1-0 Slovakia win, which for a majority of the match, from the 25th minute to the 90+4 minute, it looked like Slovakia was going to take it. But Jude Bellingham scores quite possibly the greatest goal in European Championship history. No joke. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. But it is a corner kick, bicycle kick. It was amazing. His bicycle kick was so well timed, literally a minute before the 6 minutes of stoppage time was up, and he saves it, and then Harry Kane gets a lucky deflection where he heads it in from close range in the 91st minute of stoppage time, and Slovakia had their chances. They had 3 shots on target, but that doesn't show all the opportunities that they had. Slovakia had so many breakaways and chances where it was 3-on-2, 2-on-2, and they didn't even get a shot off because their quality was poor. Their decision-making was poor, or they sit in a cross, and there's no one there to actually put anything on the goal. So Slovakia ought to have won this one. They're going to feel really bad about losing it, but in stoppage time, it didn't look like they were going to come back. Once Kane scored, you kind of felt like England had this one in the bag. And then Spain versus Georgia. Georgia was my team. I thought they were going to do it. I really did. They got fortunate with a Lenormand own goal in the 18th minute. But other than that, Georgia looked abysmal in this match. I don't know what happened in that last group stage match where Georgia won 2-0 against Portugal. But they went back to looking like the team in match day 1 of group stage. I mean, 76% possession from Spain, 35 total shots and 13 on target. Georgia did not even muster a shot on target. Spain, once Rodri got the 39th minute equalizer, you knew that Spain it was only a matter of time. And in the second half, it was just a slow and methodical continuation of breaking Georgia's defense down. But again, Georgia's goalkeeper really saved the day here because it probably could have been 8 or 9-1 had it not been for him, and some pretty amazing saves. But Georgia falls. Zander almost got a perfect pick. He predicted 4-0 for Spain. I predicted 1-0 for Georgia. So I had predicted an early match or an early goal in this match, but they couldn't hold the clean sheet. So that is half of the quarterfinal. Then we move to Monday. Monday was an interesting one. Not a lot of offense from teams we thought would be very offensive, but France and Portugal, Zander had predicted a 3-2 Belgium victory. I had predicted a 2-1 Belgium victory. And a Jan Vertonghen own goal ends up being the thing that decides it. 4 total shots on target. Pretty similar possession. I mean, it looked like both teams respected each other too much. Both teams started this match not really wanting to attack too much. But then, again, you have people like Romelu Lukaku who come with these big, hefty price tags, who come with this goal-scoring acumen, who have done things in the past for their clubs that we think are incredible, and yet they come to tournaments like this for their national team, and they flop. They don't show up. I don't want to say it's embarrassing, but it's frustrating if you're a Belgian fan to see that your star striker, who has been one of the faces of the golden generation, to see him show up like he has in this Euro has got to be disappointing. And then, you had some creativity from De Bruyne, you had some creativity from Trossard, but there wasn't any actual quality of chance. Same with France. They had a lot of shots, 19 shots, but only 2 on target. So it was an interesting match and a really tough one to end 1-0. And then Portugal and Slovenia. This one was a tale of missed opportunities. Ronaldo in the first half gets a penalty saved. And it looked like for the rest of the match, he was mentally not there. It looked like he knew that was a crucial penalty that he cannot miss. And it was clear that he was not there mentally the rest of the match. And then Slovenia had a chance, a breakaway there early in the second half that was saved by Diogo Costa. And I mean, what a save it was. Just almost like a Emiliano Martinez World Cup save, just with his little ankle shin. And it was a good save. Penalties happened. Slovenia played so well. They were holding on in the second half and in the stoppage time. But three horrible penalties. If you haven't seen the penalties, go back and watch them. I mean, none of them were placed in the corners. None of them were placed at a good distance, at a good height, whether low or high. I mean, it looked like they were throwing the game. Portugal converted their first three. Slovenia missed their first three. Penalty shootout, loses 3-0. I thought that was just so poor from Slovenia. To be there in this moment, to get all the way to the end, to have a chance to beat Portugal, and then you miss your first three penalties. Wow. Zander had predicted a 1-0 victory for Portugal in this one. I had predicted a 3-0 victory. So I'm going to count mine as a perfect pick for the 3-0 penalty win. But nonetheless, Portugal moves on, so we both got that correct. Netherlands and Romania. Romania, where'd you go? Group stage Romania left. I guess that squad went home, and another squad came and decided to play like their actual FIFA ranking, because this one was not close. Gakpo scoring early was inevitable, and then really the second half, it wasn't necessarily the shots that you felt that Netherlands was inevitably going to score, but it really was the just possession they had, the way they were dominating the match. So Netherlands takes it 3-0. Zander and I both got this wrong. He predicted a 2-0 Romania win. I predicted 2-0. He predicted 2-1. But the Dutch move on. And one big match that I did not see coming was Austria and Turkey, and Austria losing. I predicted Austria to win 4-1. Austria had come into this match just playing incredibly well. But Turkey surprised us. I mean, they were a surprising team to make it to the round of 16, but they wanted us to know that they weren't there just to be there. They weren't there by default. They were there by design. They were there because they had worked their way in. And an early bounce around kick in by Demiral in the box, then another awesome header in the 59th minute puts them up 2-0. And then Austria equalizes 66th minute, but then could not find. They scored their first goal in the 66th minute, but couldn't find the equalizer. And you feel for Austria, they played well, but they just got out-muscled, out-physicality. They were not the team that showed up and showed the brute strength that Turkey did. Turkey willed this win into existence. I thought Austria was going to win 4-2. Zander thought it would end 2-2, he was close. But he predicted Austria to win 3-1 on penalties. So it was not a great match of predictions for us in the Euros. But the quarterfinals start tomorrow on July 5th. We have two matches, the first of which being Spain and Germany, the second being Portugal and France. And I want to start with the second match, Portugal and France. I think this one has the makings of being a classic, mainly because both of these teams have shown that their offenses are not doing well at all, but their defenses are still rock solid. Ultimately, I am predicting that Portugal defeats France 2-1, and then Zander has predicted that France will beat Portugal 2-1. So, yeah, I'm going to go Portugal 2-1, and then Zander thinks the opposite, France will win 2-1. And then going to the earlier match at 11 a.m. Central Time, Spain versus Germany. This one's a hard one. Germany's playing really well, but also Spain is looking really good too. I think this one will be an instant classic, a high-scoring affair. I think it's Germany's time. I think Germany has been bounced around too much, and they haven't won a lot recently. So I'm going to go Germany takes it 3-2. And I think it goes in extra time. I think it's 2-2 at the end of regulation, 3-2 at the end of extra time. So Germany, for me, moves on. Zander has Germany winning 3-1 as well. And now we're going to move to Switzerland versus England on Saturday, July 6th at 11 a.m. Central Time. Zander and I are both on the same wavelength here. He predicted a 2-1 Switzerland win. I'm also going to predict the same. I think Switzerland is purring really well, and I think England had a great show of tenacity and just grit in their last match, but they should never have been in that position to begin with. So I really think Switzerland looks like the type of team that can dominate an England team. I think England's lucky to get one goal. I think Switzerland takes control early, gets a goal early, and they end up winning it 2-1 in regulation. And then the last match, Netherlands-Turkey. I think personally that Netherlands is going to show Turkey just the difference in quality of their teams. I think the Dutch are definitely a better side than Turkey. Turkey, again, they're physical. If they can impose that physicality on the Dutch, there's a really good chance they move on too. I think this one goes into stoppage time. I think it goes into penalties. I think Netherlands wins on penalties 4-2, and I think the score going into penalties is 1-1. Zander believes the Dutch will win 2-0. So that is the recap and the predictions for the quarterfinals of the Euros. And one player that I want you guys to watch out for in moving forward is I want you to watch for Jude Bellingham. Not for his heroics, but for how he plays in between the times that he scores and when he doesn't. Because there seems to be a lot of pressure on Jude Bellingham when there doesn't need to be in a squad like this for England. There doesn't need to be any pressure on him in this squad, but I think he puts that pressure on him. And I think that bicycle kick was a much-needed boost for him and the team. But I think against a Swiss side, he's going to get exposed. They're going to show that the pressure is on him to not only create, but also to be the holding midfielder that he actually is. And it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that pressure. So he is a player to watch out for in this quarterfinal. Another note I wanted to add is we would love to know what you guys think of the format of Coffee with a Kick. Do you think there are changes that could be made that would increase your audience experience, your listener experience, or do you like the way that we're already set up? We want to make sure that we're catering towards what our audience and subscribers want, but also still staying genuine to the podcast and the show that we do. So if there's any ideas that you guys have or any segments that you want us to begin, please let us know in the comments or send us a message. We would love to hear from you and let us know what sort of topics you want us to talk about as well. We added in trivia about halfway through the year. This past year, we've changed up our thumbnails and our titles and kind of the way that you see our recordings. And so just let us know what you guys want, because ultimately we're here to serve the audience and talk about the Premier League action as well as the international soccer scene as well. We hope to do a little bit of tweaking here in the summer, and then come the fall for the new Premier League season, we will be revved up and ready to go in a format that I think will be a good format. But if you have any suggestions or ideas, comment below, let us know. But we've really enjoyed covering the Euros and the Copas, and thankfully, the soccer's not over after the Euros and Copas. We will be covering the Olympics as well, and some of the build-up to the Premier League season. So, as Zander always says, why don't you go ahead and grab some coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you on the other side. Cheers.